I want to talk a little bit about my experiences the past few days with the iPhone 15 Pro Max and if I feel it's worth it to go for the bigger model. This is my first year with a Max iPhone. I've never gone for the larger version of iPhone. I've always stuck with the 6.1 inch display or whatever the smaller iPhone was. And it always feels weird using iOS or getting a bigger iPhone because you remember back in the day, Steve Jobs, it was like pulling teeth to get them off that 3.5 inch display and just to get that extra row where they only made the iPhone taller on the iPhone 5 and then finally on the iPhone 6 we had something like a 4.7 inch display and it almost felt like we were doing something wrong. So that's kind of stuck with me for whatever reason on iPhone, but I have to say I've enjoyed iOS on the larger display, but there are really two reasons, or actually one big reason and one headache that I think you avoid by getting the Pro Max. I think this year, if you've been on the fence about it, if you've always looked at the iPhone Pro Max, but you say, you know what, I'm going to go with the one I know, I'm going to go with the more pocketable one, I'm going to go with the smaller iPhone, I've been using that size for years, I have no issues with it. If you've ever been curious about getting the max size iPhone, I believe this is the year to do it. And the number one reason that you'd make that switch this year, or make that decision this year, is the titanium. You heard a lot of back and forth about on the internet about the titanium. A lot of nonsense out there about how brittle it is, and it's a softer metal, and it's going to scratch and this, that, and the other thing easier. Okay, I get it, because a lot of that technically is true. Is it a softer metal? Yes, absolutely. Will it scratch? Will there be issues on the side here? Yes, there might be some issues with that, with the coloring or the way they do the color on the titanium. There might be some headaches there. However, keep in mind, a lot of this stuff that you're seeing, these videos that you're seeing, are infotainment at best. There's never going to be a scenario when you get up on a bridge or an overpass and drop your iPhone down 14 times in order to show the damages. That's never going to happen. There's never going to be an instance when you sit there with your iPhone because you're bored and put your pressure on a single point of that iPhone and then bend with all of your might until your hands are shaking so the glass breaks. Not going to happen, right? Treat an iPhone like human beings would treat a $1,200 investment and you will be okay. Same as the year before, same as every other year. You want to say that the stainless steel is different? Sure, it is, because you're not going to have that flex there that causes the glass to break. However, don't do things that are going to cause that. And that's not a Steve Jobs, well, just don't hold it that way. It's a don't take your phone like this, put a single point of pressure there, and bend. I don't think that's that hard to avoid, especially when most of us are going to be putting cases on our devices anyway. But the benefits that you get far outweigh any of the negatives of using titanium. 221 grams. So if you're one of those people that just always picked up an iPhone in the store, they were massive. Heavier than an S23 Ultra. Heavier than almost any phone on the market at the time, save from foldables. It was a reason why a lot of people didn't wind up getting a Pro Max to enjoy the extra space that you get with iOS on that large 7.6 inch display, a 6.7 inch display. It was a legitimate reason, because by the time you're done with that, which is like with the last year, 240 grams, you put a case on it. It is a significant commitment in the pocket to carry this device around that is now not a thing anymore. I have been loving this device in the hand. I have been absolutely loving using it. It is light. It is relatively thin for an iPhone. And it just is fantastic to enjoy iOS on the huge display. Been absolutely loving it. Zero complaints. And I'm telling you, if you've been on the fence about that in the past, this is the year that you're going to want to pick one up. Because unlike the stainless steel one, you're not going to have that concern about the weight. And there's another reason why you'd want to pick up a Pro Max as well. I've seen a lot of stuff, overheating stuff I haven't had a problem with on my Pro Max. Now, I don't know if that's Pro specific. I don't think it is. I've not had the overheating that some other people have had. Not saying that that's not the case. A lot of other people have different experiences. They use their phones differently. I have not had an issue, save from the first day when he was doing his initial updates. When he was doing the updates, it was getting warm. After that, have not had a problem with it. But I have heard a lot of people say that the battery experience on the regular Pro this year is not what they'd expect. It's more like what my experience was on the iPhone 14 Pro from last year, which was not great. Still better than a lot of the phones on the market. Okay? The iPhone on its worst day was still better than some of the Pixel devices on its best day. So when we're talking about bad for iPhone, it's relative when we're talking about battery life. However, you get these devices, and part of the experience and part of the advantage of why you pay a little extra and you put up with some specs that are not perhaps on par with what you'd expect on the Android side of the ball is some of the benefits, like the additional battery life. So you're going to buy that device, you want that battery life to be on point. And for a lot of people, it's more like what it was with the iPhone 14 Pro, not the best. So they're getting that 6 hours, 5.5, 6.5 hours of screen on time, whereas we're used to a heck of a lot more than that, whether it's 8 or 9 hours of screen on time like we had with the iPhone 13 Pro. Now, none of those issues over here on the Pro Max. The Pro Max has been an absolute battery beast. I could get easily, I think, 9 or 10 hours of screen on time without breaking a sweat. This is on its second day, and you can see right there, 47% left. I had a full day of fantasy football yesterday, checking on my 2 losers that I got. Horrible teams. I mean, some of these guys need to get it together, but I have 2 bad teams, so I was checking that the entire day. All the NFL stuff, all the stuff on Twitter, checking all the memes because my Dolphins dropping 60 on the Broncos yesterday, so I had all the Let Russ Cook memes on Twitter ready to go. So that was a full day of that. And now we're on the second day today, and now it's 5:30. So I took this off the charger 9 a.m. yesterday, and here we are today, and I've used it phone calls, text, whatever, and it's still going strong. And that's why you pick up a Pro Max over even something like a Pro, because you want that just battery life that you don't have to worry about. You're not home for a day? Don't plug it in. You're fine. You'll be fine the entire next day. Need to do 4 hours of turn-by-turn navigation? Don't worry about it. Set it and forget it. This is going to last the entire day. So if you're somebody who shied away from the Pro Max in previous years because of the size or the weight, more likely the weight, obviously the size is the size, you're going to want that 6.7-inch display. If you're somebody that shied away because of the weight, this is the year to get on the bandwagon if that's really been the only thing that's holding you back. And from the comments I got on the last video, it was a lot of people that were being held back by the weight on the previous devices. That's a thing. And people are like, oh, is it really that hard to carry a phone around? Do it all day. And you see all these lighter phones out there that are easier to hold, that are more pleasant in the hand. And yeah, over time, a year, 2, 3, it adds up. Why would you sit there and be miserable if you don't have to? So now you get that 221 grams on this device. You get to enjoy iOS on the huge display. And if you're somebody who's bored with iPhone, this is a great way to kind of reignite your passion for iOS. I'll tell you that. Put it on a large display, and you're going to like it a heck of a lot better because iOS does a lot of things nicely. And this device, between the performance, the cameras, which we'll get to at the end of the week, awesome. Had a lot of great stuff on this device. It's been a lot of fun. And so if you're on the fence, and you've always looked at the bigger Pro Max version, and you say, well, maybe this year, maybe this year, maybe this year. And you keep going, and you keep thinking about it, and you keep having that button over the buy button on the site, go ahead and get one. I think you're going to be impressed, and you're going to be pleased with the result. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.